I just feel like there's so many women, especially like you said, in their 40s, their 30s, even 50s, like are finding out that they have this issue. And all that time, they thought it was just something wrong with them and they didn't know what was wrong with them. And they're trying to fit into boxes that they're given in order to be successful. And it doesn't work because that's not how they work.
Welcome to the Smart Gets Paid podcast with me, Leah Niederthal. I help women land higher paying clients in their independent consulting businesses, but I've never been a salesperson. My background is in corporate marketing, and when I started my first consulting business, I learned pretty quickly that it's about 1,000 times harder to sell your own stuff than it is to sell someone else's. So I taught myself how to do it, and I created the sales approach that I now share with my clients so they can feel more comfortable in the sales process, get more of the right clients, and get paid way more for every client contract. So whether your client contracts are $5,000, $100,000, or more, if you want to work with more of the clients you love, do more of the work you love, and get paid more than you ever thought you could, then you're in the right place. Let's do it together. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate, review, and share. Hey there, Leah here, and thanks for tuning in. I hope that wherever you're listening to this, wherever you are right now, I hope you're having a great week, making some good progress in your business, and taking some time for you. So today we're going to have a real heart-to-heart about something that I've become more aware of recently, more aware of than I ever really have before, around being a business owner and running a consulting business when you have ADD or ADHD. Because we've been having some really good, profound, eye-opening discussions within the Academy, especially with the incredible women in our program who are navigating the world of running their business with ADHD. And then separately, a few of the women in my world, a few friends of mine, have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD recently, they've been diagnosed in their 40s. And really the insights and the experiences that they've shared with me about their diagnosis and what it's meant for them, those have been really eye-opening for me. And so between all of those things, I thought to myself, it's really time that we brought this conversation to you on this podcast. And so when I thought about that, I knew exactly who to call, Latrice Prater. Latrice is the founder of the Digital Solutions team. And not only has she built an amazing agency of specialized VAs, but she's also on a mission to raise awareness about being a business owner with ADHD and providing some really important and meaningful support to other women business owners who also have ADD and ADHD. And I just got to say, Latrice is one remarkable human being. I mean, we go way back because the reason I actually know Latrice and the reason I know how she works is because many years ago, Latrice was actually my VA. I hired Latrice when my business was at kind of an inflection point. I had had my very first VA ever, and he and I were at the point where we were just ready to part ways. And I did a big search and I interviewed a bunch of people, and I just was so impressed with Latrice and just sort of fell in love with her. And so she became my VA. And she had just started what was going to be her agency, but at the time it was just her, and I was her first client. So we worked together and she streamlined my entire business, and she implemented all these systems and all these processes. And at the same time, she was also growing her business, the Digital Solutions team agency. And as my business grew, she sort of stepped into this head of operations role. And then as her business was also growing, she needed to step into more of the CEO role in her business. So she rolled off the day-to-day management of my business. And now I work with two of her team members, and they're just incredible. And so since that time, I've not only been watching her grow her business, but I've also been seeing how Latrice has just stepped into this space of entrepreneurs with ADD and really grown her voice and grown her impact in that space to really reach so many neurodivergent women and women business owners. And I got to tell you, seeing how she's navigated the challenges and the opportunities of being a business owner with ADHD, it's been awe-inspiring. So I'm so happy to have Latrice here. In this episode, she's going to open up about how her ADHD has not only shaped her approach to work, but it's really influenced how she has run and how she has grown her business. And you're going to hear how she changed her approach to work so it fits how her brain works and how she's been able to build this really successful business. So if you have ADD or ADHD, or you know someone who does, this is going to be a really eye-opening episode. And of course, share this episode, post it. You never know who's going to hear something in this episode that might really unlock something for them. So take a listen to my conversation with Latrice, and at the end, I'll come back and share a lesson that you can apply to your business. Latrice, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Smart Gets Paid universe.
I miss it. I miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. Latrice, tell the good people about yourself. Introduce yourself.
That's always loaded to me because I am many things to many people. So I am Latrice Prater. I am the CEO of the digital solutions team. I came into Leah's universe as her VA, and many moons later,
that was many moons ago.
Yes, we discovered that systems and operations is actually my thing. So I have grown an agency that does just that. But I mean, outside of that, I am an ADHD girly who thrives on just following the dopamine. So I tend to do a lot of different things. I follow my passions, whatever I'm interested in, and I see what happens. And they take me to some great places, to be honest.
Yeah. Like here.
Like here.
Well, and you're also a mom of 3.
I am a mom of 3. I have a 17-year-old who is getting her driver's license next month, and a 16-year-old, and then my son is 7.
Oh my God. I can't believe he's already 7. It's wild. Well, and it's so funny you said that, you mentioned you follow your passions and you do a lot of things. And I remember when you and I first got connected and we had our first interview, and I was like blown away because you were like, and I've done this and I've done that and I've written a book and I've done this thing. And I was like, whoa, this woman can handle a lot.
Yeah, I am multi-passionate for sure. And it's funny that you bring that up because it's true. When I think about my life, I was in the military for 4 years and I did write a book. I also wrote a second book that just came out. And I have been a life coach. I have been a certified life insurance agent. I have officiated weddings. My God, I have done a lot of things.
Well, that's why I was like, if she can do all of that, then she can figure out what is going on in my business. And yeah, we started working together, and you basically like streamlined and, fixed all the things. And at the same time, you were building your own agency. And when it came to the time that you needed to step into like the agency role, I had been working with other people on your team, and I'm still working with them, running the operations of my business. So yeah, you do know, surprise, systems is your thing.
It's my thing. I thank you for that.
Well, so, and I invited you here because I've seen some of the stuff that you've been putting out over the past couple of years now around being a business owner with ADHD and building a community around that. And because I work with, of course, as you know, women consultants, and a lot of women that I work with have ADD or ADHD. And what's interesting is I'm finding a lot more women who are diagnosed with that, like in their 40s. And all of a sudden they're like grown ass adults being like, wait a minute, I know this about myself now, that either answers so many questions or asks so many questions. Right. And so can you talk a little bit about, your personal experience of just being diagnosed with ADHD and how that's sort of impacted your journey as a business owner?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I found out I had ADHD in my 30s. So I wasn't 40 yet, but in my 30s, and it made a lot of things make sense. However, my ADHD also sent me down a rabbit hole learning about ADHD, because in my brain, when you say ADHD, I think of a hyperactive little boy, not a 30-something-year-old grown woman. And I discovered, with women or girls in general, ADHD just presents itself differently. And it has a lot to do with societal norms and how we treat our children. Like, we raise our girls to be more like quiet and, reserved. And boys are allowed to be rambunctious and crazy. So it shows up a lot different in us. Like we tend to be more of the daydreamers and we can't focus as much, but we're still high achievers. Like I did well in school. I didn't have any problems with school, but I used to always say I didn't know how to study. And I didn't realize what that meant at the time. But I used to always be like, I don't know what it means to study. I don't know how to study. How do you sit down and study? So it helped make things make sense. When it came to business, though, yes, it made things make sense, but it also in the beginning made things difficult because I had to learn to work with my brain because I
Mm,
was so used to being in environments, of course, where you're just expected to achieve these goals or hit these goals and do these things, and you're told that there's one way to do all these things, not realizing that most of society is not set up or created for my brain at all, and trying to adapt how I function, how I think, or how I consume information to how I do business, it took a little while. Like it definitely took time to put things in place and also to understand I had to give myself grace.
mm,
I'm easily overwhelmed. Task overwhelm is a thing. Like too many things at once. I'm like, I don't know where to start. And it's not because I lack productivity or I'm lazy. It's really because in my mind, time blindness is a thing. And in my mind, everything seems urgent. Everything seems like it needs to be done right now. So I don't know how to prioritize. So I go into this whole thing of like, I'm overwhelmed. It's too many things. I don't know where to start. And I end up doing nothing. So ADHD paralysis is also a thing. And I sit there and I either like doom scroll on my phone or I am laying in the bed looking like I need to do 100 things and I can't seem to do any of them. But it took me a while to figure out how to work with that, how to engage my brain to get things done.
yeah. Well, and you mentioned time blindness.
Mhm.
Can you talk, what is time blindness and how does that play out?
Time blindness, most people with ADHD tend to be late to everything. I think the only reason why I'm not late is because I was in the military. So, you can't really do that. But you tend to be late because 5 minutes to you is a different to me. Because what happens is a couple things happen. Either like I have an appointment coming up, like this call, for instance, is coming up. I can't do anything before this because I'm scared if I do anything before this, I am going to get so wrapped up in it, I'm going to lose track of time. Like literally, I'm not going to realize what time it is and I'm going to be late.
Mhm.
And that happens often. Like I'll get wrapped up into something, and then next thing you know, where did the time go? It's been 3 hours and no one has said a thing to me. And I've missed appointments because of that. So
Mm,
it's usually because once we get focused, because it's hard, once we are focused on something, time is, we don't feel any different. We're just plugging away. I will miss lunch. And my husband hates it, but I will miss lunch because I've worked through lunch because I'm
mhm.
so just focused on what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
You just get in like a flow. And like, and you said that ADHD presents differently
Mhm.
for women than men. How else might ADHD present in, you know, adult women?
To be honest, it's usually misdiagnosed as like anxiety or depression because there is a whole thing about us and emotional regulation. We actually don't do well with regulating our emotions because we feel everything. We're very like, I don't want to say sensitive because I don't consider myself to be sensitive. I just feel things and I feel them intensely. So ADHD people, especially women, we tend to feel it more deeply than most. So I get really passionate about a lot of things. And like when I'm passionate, it almost seems like I'm upset. And sometimes I'm not upset, I'm just passionate. So it comes out as like, I don't know how to explain it, like attack. Like I'm coming at you, but I'm not. I'm just trying to tell you, like, oh, I'm excited about this thing, and this is why. And it's things like that. And when we have issues with emotional regulation too, there's a lot of like outbursts. We tend to have like random emotional outbursts. And I've seen that in my own life where I could be just having a day and one little thing it's like it's just out of nowhere. And we also have moments of, I don't want to say not wanting to be bothered, but it almost feels like depression of like wanting to be secluded or isolate. That's the word. Want to isolate, right?
Mhm.
But it's very different because it's hard to regulate our emotions.
Yeah. And I've also heard about, because some of people in my world have gotten diagnosed with what's called inattentive ADD. How is that the same or different than some of the symptoms you're talking about?
So inattentive. So there's three types. There's inattentive. There is the what they call impulsive hyperactive, and then there's combination. I, my friend, am combination. I am a little bit of both. So I, I have the best of both worlds. But inattentive is usually the ones that have a hard time focusing, daydreaming. You know, they're probably a little more quieter, not on the hyperactive side. They just kind of internalize more then so it doesn't show outwardly. Like you can't really tell. But most of the time they're also fidgety because they're trying to focus. So when they can't, they bounce in their legs, they're playing with their hands or their hair, or they do stuff like they want to take notes because they really, really want to focus. So they have to do something else instead of just listening to you.
Interesting.
So that's usually what it looks like with inattentive. Hyper impulsive is literally what it sounds like, you know, bouncing off, not really bouncing off the walls, not as an adult, but like impulsive for an adult can be like spending sometimes. And even I do it too. So that's where that impulsiveness kicks in because it's a dopamine hit. For some reason, something about shopping is a dopamine hit. Arguing is a dopamine hit. ADHD people will pick an argument sometimes. We like to debate. Dopamine hit.
Oh man. Well, so I'm curious. I mean, what are some traits of ADHD that you feel like are advantages for business owners? Like I was talking to this came up in one of the academy calls where somebody was saying that I think the question was like, what is your superpower?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, my ADD. My ADD
Mm-hmm.
is my superpower in running a business. So when people say that, like, you know, what does that mean? Or what do you see with the women that are in your world who are
Yeah.
business owners and have ADD or ADHD? How is it a superpower?
Well, there are always, to me, is a two-sided coin, right? There's advantages for sure. Because even with impulsiveness, it means that I also make decisions quickly. I'm a quick start. I will get things done. And I'm also not afraid to try new things. So when it comes to business, because I'm not afraid to try new things, I found success because I do things my way. The moment I have a thought or an idea, I'm going to execute it because at that moment, my brain is lasered in on this. This is what I've hyper focused on. So I can do what most people do in a day, I can do in a couple hours. So literally, and the thing about that is we also have that hyper focus. Like when an ADHD person hyper focuses, there is getting them in that state is hard, but getting them out is just as hard. Literally, it makes us mad. Like if I'm in a flow and you try to talk to me, I am angry. Do not talk to me because it's like
I
it
think
took
I've
me forever.
actually,
Yeah,
I think I've actually experienced that.
because it takes me. It feels like it takes me forever to get here. So when you take me out of it, it's like I don't know when this is gonna come back. Leave me alone. Let this flow.
I think it
But
was like, I was like, Latrice, like, do you have a few minutes to talk about this thing? And you were like in the zone on something else. And I was like, no, I do not have time to talk about that thing, which is also a really good boundary for me, right? Like, just
mhm,
because I have a thought about something doesn't mean I need to take you off track from doing the work that you were already doing,
yeah.
right? And so I think it's actually, in that respect, you may not realize it, but you sort of like trained me as a business owner
Mm.
to like manage my own thoughts and stuff, you know, to better work with you. So anyway, keep going.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of great advantages, I think, because I'm able to make decisions quick. I have a very high emotional, intelligence. My EQ is extremely high. So I am very good with like my team and picking up on how they feel and their emotions. I'm like that with people in general, but as a leader, it helps. Um, and because I know what it's like to be in my skin and deal with the things that I deal with, I give people a lot of grace. And that helps me, as a good leader. But there are several advantages, I think. so many. I'm not afraid. I don't know if you ever read, there's so many articles about like the ADHD advantage or how people with ADHD make the best entrepreneurs. And I think what it all boils down to is the simple fact that we're just not afraid to just do the thing. Once we have it in our brains to do, like we're gonna do it. And
Hmm.
whether we fail or we succeed, at least we did it. Because the biggest thing for me is I don't want to regret. I don't want to sit and think, well, what if, what if? No, I don't live in the what ifs. If I thought about it, let's do it and see what happens. So,
Yeah. I know that that pays off, right?
mhm,
It's really like running a business is taking a risk, and it
yes,
involves small
and we like
risks
risk.
all the time, right? And so somebody like me who's like a recovering perfectionist, that's like really hard, because I
Mhm,
want to know that I'm going to get an A, and there's no guarantees on that. And I
mhm,
definitely know that from my perspective, like I've um waited too long on things. I've held off doing something that I could have done and could have gotten, great results from. I've, chronic overthinker. And so I think the other side of that and being, what you're calling like the impulsiveness or whatever, but just the ability to do it,
mhm.
because you need to do it. I can absolutely see, yes, why that makes a good business owner, why most successful people in the world have ADHD.
We don't like to work for other people. To be honest, like it's we tend to not like authority. And I never liked the whole manager to employee dynamic because I always felt like people didn't value people. And I'm all about people. I'm about relationships. I'm a relationship builder. So for me, becoming an entrepreneur, it had to happen at some point because I was just so overworking for people who I felt like really didn't care about me, so to speak. And I feel like when you take care of your people, they'll take care of you. And that's how I function. And I think another thing too with people with ADHD, we have like this strong sense of like justice. Like if you do somebody I care about wrong, like you're gonna pay for that. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
because not even for ourselves, we struggle with boundaries within ourselves or for ourselves because we do have a little bit of people pleaser in us. But when it comes to people around us, we will protect them at all costs. Like at all costs. And I feel like you've kind of seen it, and you've kind of seen how I've protected you
Oh,
and your
yeah,
time, and
absolutely.
how much I used to be on top of you about stop booking yourself back to back. You need time. You need a break, and I do the exact opposite. I will book myself back to back like it's no tomorrow. But I would be in your calendar like, nope, I'm blocking this time, and I usually would put something like, go to the bathroom, go eat or something.
You totally would. Yeah. Oh, I've definitely gotten the benefit of that loyalty and,
Hmm.
just really fighting for the people you care about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, so we've talked about some of the superpowers,
Hmm.
right? Of ADHD or having ADHD and running a business. But I'm guessing that there are probably some things that make it a little more difficult,
Of
right?
course.
Um, let's talk about some of those.
I think the biggest one as a business owner is the fact that I can't control what my brain wants to do. That's the biggest thing. As a business owner, especially as someone who works with clients, if I am not moved to do the work, I cannot do the work. And that's hard because I have to have extremely transparent conversations, especially when it comes to deadlines. Now, granted, I've been doing this for a while, so I can get things done, but it takes time for me to prep myself and get myself in a state of like, okay, I have to do this now. So I usually procrastinate and wait till like the deadline. And that's when I'm like, okay, fire, time to put the fire out. Like I create those fires in order for my dopamine levels to go up. Because if I'm not motivated, I will find something else to do and I will do
Hmm.
that because that's what my brain and my dopamine is moving me towards. It's like, oh, we want to do this novelty or we want to look into this. We want to go down a rabbit hole about this subject, So that's the biggest struggle I think as being a business owner is you can't always control where your focus goes.
Yeah. Well, and so here's a question because as you're sort of saying some of these things, I mean, when you say like, I don't want to do things I don't want to do. I would leave it to the last minute. I think a lot of people listening would have that as their experience as well, even if they haven't been diagnosed with ADHD. So what's the difference between that in somebody with ADHD and somebody who's neurotypical?
The difference is most neurotypical people, you may not want to do it, but you can make yourself do it. Like you could sit down and be like, ugh, I really hate this task, but I know I need to do it. So let me just go ahead and do it and get out the way because that makes sense. ADHD, I'm going to sit down and be like, I know I need to do this, but I really don't feel like doing it. And I literally cannot make myself do it. When is it due again? Oh, I have 2 days. I'll wait. Like literally, like we physically cannot make ourselves do it. If the focus is not there, if we are not moved to do this work, I can't make myself do it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I can definitely see the difference there. So as you've learned about your brain and learned about yourself, how have you changed how you work, or what sort of like tools or techniques or strategies have helped you in running the business?
To be honest, for me, I've done several things. The biggest thing is I've learned to give myself grace. Because we tend to beat ourselves up a lot, but I've learned to give myself grace. And the days where I can't, I won't. Like my body is telling me we need a break today, so that's what we're doing today. We taking a break. But when it comes to like strategies and systems, I, like everybody else who comes into this world of entrepreneurship, have invested in courses and coaches and things like that. But I am the type of person that I've learned to take away from it what I can. Like I know a lot of the times what is being taught is not being taught for the way I think or the way I function. And I don't hold that against anybody, but I know that I go into it taking out only the pieces that I know I will apply or that apply to me. And I think when it comes to people with ADHD, especially in the beginning, when you find out, a lot of the times they go into this whole something's wrong with me. Why can't I do this, or why can't I catch on? Like, is it me? Am I the problem? They're telling me how to do it. I can't do it. That's because you're trying to do it in a way that works for them and not for you. And I've learned that I had to do business my way. I had to do things in a way that only I can do, but that works for my brain, And if that is, I'm not big on social media. I'm not consistent at all with social media. But you know what? I'm great at my job. So I get a lot of referrals because I'm great at what I do. So that's how my business has been going for almost 5 years now, because nobody can tell me, oh, you need to do more marketing. You need reels and stuff. Because I'm going to look at you like, who gonna do it? Because I'm not. Because it's not authentic to who I am. I don't want to. So I'm not. So I'm gonna find another way, because you're not gonna tell me that success is linear, because it's not. So for me, it's understanding that I can take all the different routes, the detours, but I'm still gonna get to where I need to get to at my own time, in my own leisurely pace, and I'm gonna be good. And also delegation, because to be honest, somebody with ADHD, having somebody to delegate to is extremely important, because there are so many times where you either can't do the thing or you need time away. So having a backup is vital. Like I'm so glad now that I have an agency that I can depend on, because when I need my time, I do not want any clients feeling like they can't rely on me. So having people there that I can be like, hey, can you take this on and finish this is great. So delegation is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you said, I'm going to get to where I want to go. I will just get there my way. Where is that now? Bring us up to speed. So like when you and I first started working together, it was just you and me, right?
Yes, it was just you and me.
It was just you and me. How many people are on your team now?
It is 10. I have a team of 10.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Let me ask you, so why, because maybe it's just the age that I am, or as long as I've been in business or whatever, or maybe it's just like what's going on in the culture, but like, I feel like there's so much more conversation around ADD, ADHD, the neurotypical brain. Why is it so important to talk about this in the context of business? Because also I've seen that you're really fostering this conversation,
Yes.
in your world and among women business owners? Why do you feel like this is so important right now?
Because the world is toxic. And I mean that in a way of like, even when it comes to being an entrepreneur and when you're out seeking support and you're looking at these courses or these coaches, there are so many people telling you, you have to do it this way. This is the way it needs to be done in order for you to get the success you're looking for. I've done it, so why can't you do it? And I say toxic because someone who either doesn't know they have ADHD or are in the early stages and really don't know what it means to have ADHD, that could really tear them down. That takes them into a place of, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. This should be easy. Instead of just understanding like it's not a you thing, it's more of this wasn't created specifically for your brain and you need to do something that works for your brain. But it's important because I feel like there's so many women who feel alone especially in entrepreneurship, in the sense of like they know they're different and they want to feel okay and they want to know that they're okay when they say, I can't seem to bring myself to do the thing. And they don't want to hear somebody say, well, you have to do the thing. That's the
Or
only
like
way.
change your mindset.
Yes.
Or like time blocking.
Yes. You have a mindset issue. You're not managing your time well. Like those things. It's understanding that we need acceptance. People need to understand that everybody does not think the same. And everybody's goals aren't the same. Everybody's goal isn't to be multimillionaires. Some people just want to be able to sustain and be happy. My idea of success is very different from the next person's. And to me, I've reached the level of success that I am happy with. I am great where I am because I am not overly stressed. I am not wanting for anything, but I just feel like there's so many women, especially like you said, in their 40s, their 30s, even 50s, like are finding out that they have this issue. And all that time they thought it was just something wrong with them and they didn't know what was wrong with them. And they're trying to fit into boxes that they're given in order to be successful. And it doesn't work because that's not how they work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back to what you said about, there's one way to run a business or there's one way to do a thing, or, if you have the only way to be successful is to reach this certain level, right? I mean, I think that I think especially as women, neurodivergent or not, like there's so much that's on our plate and the ways that we've been conditioned that even if we wanted to, we don't have the luxury of just going for the money. Right.
Exactly.
And so, one of the things we talk about in the academy and in like our world now is it's called 3X profitability. It's financial, professional, emotional. In that, like a little triangle, a little pyramid. And the goal is in the balance.
It is.
If you have tremendous financial profitability, but at the expense of your emotional profitability, right? Or professional profitability, that's not going to work. And so getting to a place where it's in the balance and you have something great that's working for you. That's what we need. I mean, that's what we're going for. Right. And it's going to be a little bit different for everybody in their business.
Yeah. Honestly, I really think too is there are so many things that happen in business and in entrepreneurship that people feel like they can't say and they want to say, like I like transparency and I want to be authentic. I want to show up exactly as I am, who I am all the time. That was another reason why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to subscribe to anybody's idea of what professionalism is or should be. I just want to be me, period. And with many women, I feel like especially women that have ADHD, we're very good at telling if people are authentic or not. So it makes it harder for us to find our circle of people, our circle of trust, because we can look and see if you are authentic or if you're just playing a part. And that's not fun because for me, I want to have be surrounded by other women who can tell me about their successes, but can also be real about how hard it was to get to that success, how hard it is on a day-to-day basis, how some days you want to throw the whole business away, because I say it often. I don't mean it. It's just how I feel in the moment. So having those types of conversations and being amongst women who I can say that to, and they get it, they understand it, and they're not telling me, "Oh, you have a mindset issue." They know where it's coming from. It's important. And balance, in my opinion, is great in the aspects of what you spoke of: the emotional, the financial. What was the third one?
Professional.
Professional. Yes.
Doing the work you love with clients you
Yes.
enjoy.
That in that aspect, it makes sense. But balance outside of that, balance, when I think of balance, like as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a wife, and all the other things that I handle in my life, as someone with ADHD, I have learned that balance is a myth. I will never balance it all. I will never do everything great all at once. What's going to happen is each day I'm going to do something great. Something is going to fall behind though. But I'm going to do something great. And you know what? I'm celebrating that success because at least I did the one thing great. Tomorrow, if I didn't do business great today, tomorrow I'm going to be amazing. If I wasn't the best parent today, tomorrow you're going to have super mom. So that's the only way that I know, because there is no way for me to balance all of the roles that I have to live within in my life perfectly. I can't. So something's going to fall short. So I wrote about that a little bit in the book too, that, we try to be super women, but I can't. To be honest, the biggest strength that we have is our boundaries and learning when to say no, learning when it's not beneficial for us. And as someone with ADHD, our boundaries are essential. Like, we have to have them and stick to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit more about the book. Cause I feel like this is like such a gift. Your book's coming out today.
Yeah.
So tell me about it.
It's called Chaos Queen. Chaos Queen, because everything about me is a little bit chaotic. A little chaotic, a little fun, all the things. But it was meant to be somewhat of a guide, so to speak, a guide of just how to manage life and business when you have ADHD. So the chapters kind of speak to how to deal with chaos, because chaos is your new superpower. Because honestly, as someone with ADHD, chaos is all you know. And it's not really an external chaos, to be honest. A lot of the times it's internal chaos. It's dealing with everything that you're going through on the inside. Talking about the whole super woman thing, trying to do everything for everyone, and understanding how important it is to stay in your lane, create your lane and stay in that lane. You can't do everything that everybody else is doing. You literally have to do your own thing. You have to create your own path. And I am definitely an advocate of that. It's a lot about imposter syndrome and boundaries and balancing kids and business. So that's the whole book, how to manage.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And I'm so happy we get to talk about it here. Where can people find this book?
It is on Amazon. I'm so excited. It's on Amazon right now. So
search for Chaos Queen or search for Latrice Prater.
Yes. You'd be better off searching for Latrice Prater, probably.
Yeah. We don't know what Chaos Queen is going to serve up in the results.
Right.
So I was going to ask you what advice you have for business owners with ADHD. It sounds like it's all in the book, but can you give us just one, a nugget of what would you say to a business owner with ADHD?
What would I say to a business owner with ADHD?
I know, big question. But what's one piece of advice that you would give her?
Burnout isn't a badge of honor. Rest or quit.
So important.
Yes.
And what would you say then to business owners who don't have ADHD on, working with or collaborating with other business owners who do have ADHD? What advice would you give?
Communication is vital. And I say that to say, the more you communicate, the more you understand one another, and grace. Because understanding that because we are wired differently, that I'm going to receive things differently. But I will tell you how I receive it so that you can understand. But it's being open to having those transparent and honest conversations about, okay, in order for us to work together, this is what you should understand about me. And I am like that with my clients. So that's what I would say. Real conversations, guys.
So it's like so fun to talk to you after all these, all this time. And I want to give the listeners a little bit of a gift. What's something, I know I'm putting you on the spot. What's something about working with me that you think people might not know?
Oh my gosh.
I know. I should have sent you this beforehand.
Yes, because now I'm like, what? Okay.
What do you think people would be surprised to know about working with me?
I don't know. How far do you want me to go with this? Because I know you. Because Leah can be feisty, but not in a bad way. But Leah can be feisty. She got a little fight in her, and I like it.
Like what?
Where did I get that from? Okay,
yeah.
So remember back in the day, I was your corporate clapback queen because I can write.
I do. You were my corporate clapback queen when I didn't know how to when I didn't know how to respond to somebody in a way like I was frustrated,
yes,
annoyed or whatever. Latrice has this way of just like writing the email that sounds so lovely. And anyway, I don't want to tell your whole story. Tell me. Yeah, tell it.
That's when I knew like that you were feisty. Like, because your message to me would be like this, like your frustrations, and you be over it and you like, can you do that thing you do? Can you do that thing you do? Can you write me just write me a perfect email, because you are so sweet. And I think everybody knows that you're sweet and your whole personality is bubbly, lovely, a little introverted, but from working with you, I'm like, no, there is some spice. There's some spice there.
I mean, everybody needs some spice.
And I'd be like, I got you. Don't even worry about it.
Seriously, you were ChatGPT before ChatGPT existed. I'd be, you would just make it so lovely and perfect and communicate exactly what had to be communicated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm not going to fight that. I'm not going to argue it.
Absolutely.
You're so right. I totally forgot about that. You were like you were the clapback queen, but it was like the corporate clapback queen.
Yes.
That's what it was. Yeah. Latrice, where can people find you?
Oh gosh. I am on LinkedIn these days, Latrice Prater. I am on Facebook these days, Latrice Prater. If you want to, it depends on what you want from me though. If you want the real and raw, Facebook. If you want a professional version of the real and raw, LinkedIn. But that's usually where I am.
And where can people find your business?
Oh, my website is actually www.thedstagency.com.
DST standing for?
Digital Solutions Team.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Latrice, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Anytime.
I loved that conversation with Latrice. And if she said anything that really spoke to you, I hope you'll reach out to her and thank her. And I really want to thank Latrice and all of the women in the Academy who have ADD, because thanks to you, we've been motivated to make some big changes to our program just in recognition of the fact that not everyone learns the same way. And the way it works for me or for one person may not work for everybody. And so we've really tried to create a space that works for women with ADD. We've taken all of our long training videos and cut them down and made them really short. We have accountability built in. Our Slack community is open all the time. So if you need anything at any time, you can post and ask questions outside of, official working time and other things like that. And, all of that's been part of our commitment to helping you be more successful using the strategies that you're learning. So really, thanks to our members for that. And so I wanted to pull out a lesson that you can apply to your business. And it's what Latrice shared about just a new way of thinking about balance. Balance in the business and also balance around being a business owner and other parts of her life. Because we all have parts of our lives that are important to us. And traditionally, when you think about balance, you think of it as like stasis, right? Like just steady. Let's think about work-life balance, for example, which I know a lot of us understand now is a myth, but at least it's the idea of like giving the right amount to both work and life. And when we think of balance, in your mind, it's like the goal is to get you to a place of balance and then just try really hard to keep it there. But I really like this new definition of balance. It's this idea that it's not equal from minute to minute, right? It's not that you get things equal or even and you keep it there. It's that, one day the business owner part of you might really shine, but maybe you sort of feel bad that you couldn't show up as the parent that you wanted to that day. Or the next day you might feel like you've really got it together as a parent, but maybe there wasn't space for you or your partner in your relationship. Or then another day or another week or whatever, you feel like a great partner or great spouse or your relationship's great and you feel like a great parent, but maybe you didn't show up as a business owner in the ideal way that you want. And, that's okay, because in this new definition, it's not about making it equal all the time, but rather over time. Knowing that there is room for all the parts of you and you're going to let those parts of you shine that need to shine, that day, and other days or other times, other parts of you will really shine. And I love this because it's just so much more realistic and it's more forgiving than trying to have all the parts of your life together all the time. So, give yourself grace. And of course, I'm taking this advice too. Let's give ourselves grace and let's rethink our definition of balance so that we can show up as we need to and really be our authentic selves in all the parts of our business and all the parts of our lives.